This man right here goes by many names. Legally, he's Jimmy Butler III, but around the NBA, people know him as Himmy Butler, Jimmy Buckets, Playoff Jimmy, Michael Jordan's other son, and more recently, Grant Williams' father. You know, Starbucks thought they had a good business idea selling coffee for $5, but then Jimmy Butler said to him, "You're thinking too small." And if you're wondering what I mean, I'm talking about the fact that this man sold cups of coffee for $20. $20 for a cup of coffee. That's when you know that you don't want to mess with him, because if he could do that, the man could do anything. And with that being said, let's take a look at what happened to some poor souls who dared to trash talk Jimmy Buckets on the NBA hardwood floor. Here's Grant Williams with the ball on the perimeter. He knocks down the three ball, and just like that, it becomes a 9-point game for the Celtics with about 6 left to go in the fourth quarter. He must have thought that was a dagger three or something, because on the way back to the other side of the court, he starts getting in Jimmy's face. Little did he know at the time that that was a big mistake. And would you look at that facial expression, guys? I wonder if Grant Williams kinda knew what was coming. Alright, so on the very next possession after Williams hit that three, Butler went at him hard and got the bucket and the foul. Then what happened after that made headlines all around the basketball world as Butler and Williams literally went head-to-head with each other. Well, after that little scuffle ended, Butler went to the line and knocked down the free throw. The score was now 90-96. Then, what happened after that was just complete mayhem for Grant Williams because Jimmy Butler went absolutely bonkers.
Clock at 4. Here he accelerates and Butler drives on Grant Williams at a 15-foot inside for the...
As y'all saw, Butler torched Williams on one end of the court and mocked him while running down to the other side. At this point, the head coach of the Celtics, Joe Mazzulla, had no choice but to pull out Williams because the man was being cooked into barbecue chicken. It was too late at that point, though. Jimmy Butler was all fired up, and the Miami Heat goes wherever he goes. The end result of all that was a score of 111-105 for the Heat as they stole yet another home game from the Celtics. Sheesh, guys. In a post-game interview, Jimmy was asked about all this trash talk, and here's what he said.
He's a big part of what they try to do. He switches, he can shoot the ball. I just don't know if I'm the best person to talk to.
So Jimmy Grant wasn't the answer, was he, to the Jimmy Butler problem?
He wasn't.
Anyway, if Grant Williams thought that was the end of it, well, it wasn't. You see, in the very next game, Butler took it to him yet again, and after this and one play, he just points to his food after he scores on him, and man, at this point, Williams knew he made a mistake in Game 2. Anyway, that's enough of Grant. Let's move on to another one of the players wearing green, and I think I'll go with Al Horford. You see, in Game 1 of this series, after hitting a three, Horford put the Celtics up 8, and as Coach Spo called timeout, the Celtics big man mocked the Heat here with this timeout gesture. Well, Jimmy Butler remembered that, and in Game 3, after the Heat hit a three to put them up 23, Butler returned the favor. You can't really see who he's pointing at on the broadcast angle, but with this angle, you can clearly see the recipient. You know what I just love about Jimmy Buckets? Everybody acting tough when they up. Everybody acting tough when they up is the famous line of Luka Doncic before he completely dismantled the Phoenix Suns. Well, Butler is actually one of the few people in the league that will act tough when he's down. I mean, does everyone here remember what he did to Drew Holiday in the first round? If not, let me refresh your minds. So, look at this game here. I know the Heat were up in the series, but for this particular game, they were down 6 points with under 3 minutes left to go in the fourth, at Milwaukee. So, he did this in enemy territory. And here's what happened. After Butler gets the bucket and the foul, he looks at Holiday, an all-world defender, and says, "I own you." Jimmy Butler literally said to one of the best defenders in the league, "I own you." Sheesh. I don't think I've ever seen anyone trash talk Holiday like that. And the truth is, I don't know exactly what Drew Holiday did to Butler, but if I had to guess, the fact that he was the primary defender on him was probably enough to make Butler take it personally. And literally, on the Heat's next play, Jimmy once again gets a bucket over Drew Holiday and proceeds to get in his face yet again. Ouch. I'm sure he shook Holiday a bit. Anyway, moving on here. You know how you can tell that Jimmy Butler is one bad dude? Despite whatever situation he finds himself in, he is always so dang calm. I mean, in that series against the Knicks, in the game he was out due to injury, the man was eating popcorn on the bench. Yeah, as the Knicks were on the verge of tying up the series with him on the bench, the man was eating popcorn. Then afterwards, he got up and just smiled. That's pretty cold. You know, I ain't gonna say he's as good as MJ because that's just basketball blasphemy, and we don't do that here on Hoop Reports. But from everything I hear about MJ's demeanor, no one comes closer than Butler. And with that being said, let's move past the 2023 playoffs now and look at how Jimmy Butler handled trash talk in the past. And I think I'll start off with his first year in Miami. You see, back in 2020, Butler and TJ Warren got into it. In a game back in January of that season, they competed hard against each other on the court, and in one particular play, as Butler blew by him, TJ grabbed his arm pretty hard. It was a dangerous play, and Butler didn't like that, of course, and as you'd expect, some harsh words were exchanged between the two. As fans of the game, of course, we don't know exactly what was said, but here's Jimmy's take on it after the game.
I think you just got to watch your mouth in certain situations. There's something you just don't say as a man. And, I mean, he got to see me the next time because I feel like what he said was truly disrespectful.
All right, so since then, Jimmy Butler has completely steamrolled TJ Warren in their head-to-head matchups, which includes the 4-0 sweep of the Pacers in the 2020 bubble. I think it's safe to say that Warren will never want that smoke again. Next up, let's talk about Butler in Minnesota. So, no one really quote-unquote trash-talked Jimmy Butler here, but if there was one thing that he despised, it was the nonchalant attitude and lack of professionalism of the team, and one player in particular was Karl Anthony Towns. Now, the story was told by Jeff Teague in an interview, and in a nutshell, this is what went down. So, Jimmy showed up late to practice one day in training camp, and the head coach at the time, Tom Thibodeau, wanted to run a scrimmage between the starters and a group of G League players. He yells out, "Jeff, Jimmy, Wiggs, Taj, Cat," which then Jimmy responds, "I ain't playing with them." He then proceeds to say that he's going to play with the G Leaguers. Now, during the game, there was a lot of talking between Jimmy and Cat, but the end result didn't look good for the starters. Just like how he's doing now with the Miami Heat, Jimmy led a group of G Leaguers to a huge victory over the starters. And after that win, Jimmy went off on everyone in the gym, and according to Jeff Teague, this is what Jimmy said.
"Y'all think that team can win without me? I'm him! Pay me! Pay me!"
Well, after that beatdown, the starters wanted another crack at Jimmy, but he was nowhere to be found, until they turned on the TV and they saw a live interview with Butler and Rachel Nichols. Now, as we all know, Jimmy was eventually traded to the 76ers. I won't go over Jimmy's whole season with the 76ers, but the truth is, if Kawhi didn't score that buzzer beater in Game 7 and had the 76ers won that game, many believe that they would have gone to win the championship that year. Anyway, the 76ers lost, and now they had a choice to make in the offseason. Jimmy Butler or Tobias Harris. Jimmy Butler or Tobias Harris. This wasn't trash talk per se, but it was really personal, and we all know that the 76ers went with the latter choice, Tobias, and Jimmy Butler reminded everyone just how big of a mistake that was when the Heat eliminated the 76ers in the 2022 playoffs, then proceeded to say,
Tobias Harris over me?
Man, you know, a reporter once asked Jimmy Butler if playoff Jimmy is a thing.
Two quick questions, Jimmy. You've denied it before, but is playoff Jimmy a thing? Are you ready to?
It's not a thing. It's not. I just be hooping.
Well, I think Butler was lying to the reporter because I mean, let's just take a look at his numbers for the last 2 years really quickly. You see, during the regular season, the man has been averaging 22 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, which is decent. But in the playoffs, where he's had to play against the best teams in the league, he's bumped those numbers up to nearly 29 points a game, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists, while raising his overall efficiency numbers as well. What a monster, guys. Why the heck anybody in the league would think it's a good idea to trash talk him is just beyond me.